Hello everyone, this is Sai from Soft Voices, and this is my review of Dragon Age Veilguard. So, here at Soft Voices, I like to review media, specifically video games, uh, books, and the occasional, show, movie, music, piece of music, whatever, but mostly this is going to be for video games and books. I love that I just had a voice crack. That's really funny. Dragon Age Veilguard. So, Dragon Age Veilguard came out last year. It was a highly anticipated game for a lot of people. It was a highly anticipated game in some ways for me. It came out on October 31st. It was a Scorpio baby of a game. So, like I said, it had been highly anticipated. You know, people had been really, I don't want to say desperate for this game, but really it had gotten to the point where I think a lot of people, a lot of long-term fans, which I would consider myself a long-term fan, were almost like it needs to come out soon or I need to give this up. I think we were kind of at this point. Dragon Age came out Inquisition came out November 18th of 2014, so a couple of, like a week or two, it would have been 10 years exactly. So they just barely missed that. How do I want to get started with this? So this review is going to be kind of hard, I think, because I have been a fan of Dragon Age since I was a teenager. I'm not going to give you my whole sob story, but I feel like a lot of people can relate. But this is one of those games that I say really saved my life. I don't know that I would have been I don't know if I would have been who I was if not for this game or these games, for this series, this piece of art, to be honest. It's something that I really held tightly to and has been really a love of mine and has really been what made me so interested in video games and a career in video games and inspired some of my own art. Again, it's kind of difficult to review this game and to even rate it, but I am going to do that. I'm going to seek to do that. And I want to touch on some points as concisely as possible while also not keeping this very long, because I know that I'm going to keep talking about these games in the series and that's my intention. But I want to I don't want to say wrap a neat bow on it, but I want to wrap a neat bow on this. I don't think this was the anticipated game, but I also think this could have been so much worse, and I think it was made, and I think they will always have my respect for some of their choices in this game. So Dragon Age the Veilguard came out towards the end of last year, October 31st, if I remember correctly. It's a Scorpio baby. It is an RPG developed by BioWare under EA, so Electronic Arts. It's the fourth game in the Dragon Age franchise, and, you know, kind of spiritually married to Dragon Age Inquisition, which came out November 18th of 2014. So a couple weeks, if they had published it a couple weeks later, why did I say publish? If they had dropped the game a couple weeks later, it would have been 10 years, and coincidentally, that is how long it has been in the game between the two games, between DAI and DATV. The story follows a character that you play named Rook, who you can customize, as they prevent the ancient elven god Solus from entering the world. In the process of disrupting the ritual that Solus is enacting, they free, and when I say they, I mean Rook and companions, free two other elven gods and have to then work on keeping them from like completely destroying the world because they are unable to be reasoned with. So it is a third-person game. It's not really an open world game. I would actually more liken it to like a DA2 rather than a DAI in this regard. There's pretty much a whole bunch of fast travel points. I mean, the fighting is like the combat is way better to me than DAI, and I didn't hate DAI's combat, but Veilguard might actually be my favorite besides DA2. I think DA2 might be my favorite, but that's probably just because I love DA2 in general. They started development of this game like as soon as the last game came out. As soon as DAI came out, they were like ready to start the new one, and it was just unfortunately so treacherous. The path was treacherous. It was awful. Like, they went through a whole period where they were going to do a live service game, and then they were like, it's going to be single player thing, and then a lot of people ended up leaving or were laid off in the process of this game, and it created this sort of narrative, I think, because this is kind of what I was thinking during the process and during that time period, of we are never going to get this game, and if we do, it is going to be completely different. It's going to feel like something else, and I unfortunately think that it does feel like something else, but it also does feel like a Dragon Age game. I think there are parts of it that feel very new, and there are parts of it that feel very quintessential Dragon Age. It's not completely lost. But yeah, let's talk about my personal journey, since we talked about some of the details of the game. So I have been playing Dragon Age since I was a teenager. It's been probably about 12 years now since I started playing it, and I just love it. It has some of my favorite dialogue and companions and just characters of all time, some great plot lines. It really is special. It's a special and unique game, and there are not a lot of RPGs that feel like Dragon Age does. It feels so comfortable and homey, from the music to the voice acting, just like even the game mechanics. They just feel so familiar and lived in, and it's just a special series, and I can understand why a lot of people are upset by this game, and it's because they feel passionate about it. It kind of becomes like something personal, and you don't want it to be disrespected, and you want it to be cared for, and you want to continue loving it. And I think with all the news that we've received in the past couple months, and the fact that now, after 5 months, the game is being prepared to be put on in the PlayStation Premium or Plus store, that's just so disrespectful. And I'm definitely, when I found out about that, I was not happy about it at all. So I completely understand people's hurt and sadness over the game. And let's just say that when I finished the game, I definitely had a moment of just this is something different. And I can still hold disappointment, while also still really appreciating and enjoying the game for what it is. So what do I want to say about this game beyond, because I've already talked about my experiences. This game was just so highly anticipated. I think it got to the point where people were just not sure what was going on with it, what was going to happen. I think a lot of the fears that I had, because I have to be honest about my fears and my expectations, I think a lot of the fears that I had were that it would be too long in between the games, and it would completely lose its magic when it did come out. And I did also worry about Solus as a character, because we had Solus as a companion in the last game, and then to have this character be a protagonist, it's a risky place to be, I think, because there are people who love this character because you can romance this character. So there are people who really, really love this character and love the voice actor, and have dedicated so many fan works to him, to Solus, and you kind of don't want to disrespect that, because it does generate a lot of interest. And I think a lot of people who tune in to Dragon Age Veilguard are people who love Solus dearly, and there are some people who are just haters, and but most of the people who were really looking forward to this game were looking forward to him, and really seeing what they did with his character, because it would be incredibly easy to be like, he's a muha villain, like, kind of Corypheus him, I guess. Though I will say Corypheus didn't feel necessarily like a Disney Channel villain, or silly or cartoonish or anything like that. Like, unfortunately, I do think some of the antagonists or villains in Veilguard feel, but I mean, he definitely wasn't like, you weren't like having conversations with him. You didn't really sympathize or understand his motives at all. You could understand them, but you weren't like sympathizing. And I think that's how you feel about Solus. So I think that's a huge draw of the game. So those were definitely my fears and my expectations, but I still ultimately really believed that this game would be okay, like it would find its path and it would find its way. So my Rook is a trans character. I made a trans man character. He has purple hair. He's pretty cool. He's an elf. Purple hair. Ended up romancing Lucanus. So I did make my Inquisitor a male Inquisitor who romanced Josephine, because that's how I had it originally. I've obviously seen the romance. My best friend has romanced Solus, so I know what it looks like. I know the ins and outs. I do love Solavellin. I am a fan. But I do get a little annoyed when people act like that's like the only option, and I do think it's a little upsetting that they kind of made it the sole focus, it feels like, of Dragon Age the Veilguard. Like, it feels like every other romance was sort of dismissed, and I don't love that. But yeah, that's just what ended up happening. They kind of dismissed the world. I don't know. I'm just like really sad about the Keep. The Keep was just such a amazing resource and was so fun, and to have your stored information was so cool, and then now that's just kind of gone. Well, I mean, it's gone for now, but yeah, unfortunate. I know that a lot of people have issues with like the voice actors and like maybe elves having different accents, or like your elf having an American accent. I have to say, I think this is like, it's just like an issue that I have never understood, and I kind of side-eye a little bit, because I do feel like it's a little like, I don't know. I really have an issue when people are like, I want my fantastical characters to have a British or European accent. But then, like, they say that, but really what they mean is British. Like, they don't want their character to have, like, a Southern accent or an American accent. Like, even, like, just a Mid-Atlantic, or... like, they don't want that, but... that is kind of just like, people have different accents. I don't know. Like, I don't know why you think it's silly that a elf not all elves would have a British accent. Like, I find that slightly racist. And it just like assumes that having a British accent is like cooler or better or superior. And I just don't like that. Like, because I genuinely feel like people say that, and then I'm like, well, what if your character had like a Russian accent? Would you love that? No, like, not everyone would love that. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that one. So that's just something I've noticed with people talking about Balara's voice actor, or yeah, people will kind of be like, why does she sound like that? Who cares? Also, character approval. I will talk about this a little bit more later, but that was rough. I feel like that could have been handled better. I wish it had gotten the Dragon Age Inquisition treatment. I think the character approval as it stands in this game is Mass Effect, and should be kept in Mass Effect, because I don't dislike it. I just think it fits Mass Effect better than it fits here. I think they just should have kept the Dragon Age Inquisition treatment. Some of the dialogue gives like therapy session, armchair therapy but I'm not like one of those people. I feel like the early reviews of this game, and we all know the one that I'm talking about, was very much like, why these are not what real people would say. And I'm like, no, there are things that real people would say. That's not the problem. The issue is that there are things that real people say that to me don't fit the characters and don't always fit the situations or the scenes. So I have, like, they're coworkers, so some of the, things that they say and debriefs or talk throughs do give HR meeting, but they should be giving HR meeting because literally HR is in the room. Like, come on, my boss is here. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, it kind of reminds me of that scene where Davrin says something to Tosh about, like, oh, that's so embarrassing. Like, you're getting ribbed by your mom and the boss is there. And it's like, literally, like, my boss is in the room with me and I'm having a disagreement with my mother. Like, that's not fun. So, characters. I'm kind of gonna take this pretty quickly, give my ratings of the characters, but I'm not gonna go into depth about all of them because there's some other things I want to talk about, and again, I want to keep this pretty, like, concise and straight to the point. I am going to start with Balara. I'm going to start with the mages. So Balara, she's definitely an interesting character in the sense that I have no problem with her. I have no problem with her voice acting. I have no problem with the delivery. I also don't think that, like, when people are like, oh, she's so boring, or they have some sort of, like, issue with the fact that she's, like, too anxious and, like, gives ADHD or whatever, and I don't really have a problem with that. She just kind of reminds me of Meryl, but the thing that I feel like Meryl and her share is something that I find that is not uncommon in Dalish elves, is that they're very prideful and they can be borderline arrogant. I think my issue with Balara boils down to the fact that her speech patterns are strange to me. There's a lot of omission of I or pronouns, and it becomes like, can't believe that happened, wouldn't have expected that. And those are lines that are fine in like moderately, or like, sorry, in moderation. They're fine in obviously in context, but they can feel quite juvenile. I have recently found out that Balara is, like, supposed to be the youngest, and that, I guess, could make sense, but I also don't think that Balara is immature. I think there's a tendency when you have a character like this to immediately be like, best girl, like, she's like a puppy, and, like, she's so sweet, and nothing, she's done nothing wrong, or she can never do anything wrong. And I'm like, she's a grown woman. Like, come on. She may be the youngest. I don't think she's immature, but there's just something that feels off about the character that has more to do with the writing. I think she's written slightly poorly. I feel like the person who wrote her maybe didn't understand the character or didn't understand the direction, and sometimes I felt that way about the voice acting too. I felt like maybe the direction was just a little bit, it didn't match the writing of the character, and I didn't feel like there was a understanding of the direction of the character. And I think that's something that all of the characters had a little bit, though I think there are characters who absolutely had it less. Balara's speech patterns are just not my favorite. I have nothing against the voice acting. I like her character most of the time. I actually think her personal quests are great. I love the storyline with her brother. There's some survivor's guilt, abandonment issues. I also don't like, it feels like she's constantly asking for validation or approval, and, like, it doesn't make any sense to me, because I could see it if your rook is an older rook, but that's assuming that your rook is older. My rook is probably only a couple years older than Balara, so it just sort of comes off as like I'm parenting her, which puts me in this weird space where, like, if you are romancing her, that could feel like a strange dynamic. And not to say that, like, people cannot ask for validation or approval from their friend. It's fine to want to be affirmed. It's often with Balara. Like, it feels like Balara and Harding because their characters are like very sweet and bubbly and like almost they have a naivete to them, there's this correlation to immediately go for this thing of like, oh, do you think I need to do this? And wait, is this weird? And like, why is that the immediate like correlation? Like, why does that have to? Those things don't necessarily have to go together. I feel like what made Meryl such a great character is she is very sweet, but she has like a nuance to her. She has a darker undertone, and she doesn't really ask for permission. She's not really about being validated or like seeking constant approval. Like she knows what she wants. You know, she's stubborn. That was what was really cool about Meryl, is that she is sweet, but there's something there, you know. And I feel like, unfortunately, this is something Bellara and Harding's characters needed a little bit more of. I think it was just like depth, and that's a writing choice. It has nothing to do with the voice actor. I just think it wasn't a marriage like it should have been. So I have to give Bellara, you know, a C plus in terms of just general character understanding and feeling. She just wasn't to my taste, but I think her personal quests are great, and I really want to continue to get to know her. I have no, like, it's not because of her personality. I think her personality is cool. I also think it's really funny that she's like suddenly writing fan fiction or something like that, and like, I don't know. I would be interested to see more about her romance. That's all I'll say. Skipping to Nev. Nev gets an A minus. The only thing I wanted to I think Nev is brilliant. Nev is brilliantly written. I think probably the best written character besides Emmerich. She's so mature feeling. She sounds realistic. The issues that I have are based on her personal quests. I think they could have been better. Antagonists or like enemies or rivals or whatever did feel kind of cartoonishly villain. Like, that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's funny. Like, I didn't mind Emmerich's, like, Johanna was kind of funny, but I did get a little bit tired of it, and I think Nev deserved better. I'm like, you're a mage, and then there's blood magic, and blood magic is bad. Like, we get it. Like, is there something else? And I just wasn't impressed. I think at the end I was just kind of like, okay, I'm doing this personal quest because I know that you need to finish it. And that's a bummer. Like, there are some amazing personal quests in the Dragon Age series. I feel like they were kind of slacking in this game. I don't have an issue with the structure of the personal quests. Like, I don't think they're random or like out of place. I just think they needed to be better and have more to them. I think this is just a issue of depth, unfortunately. But yes, Nev gets an A minus. Just like super fun. Love her relationship with Bellara. Just super mature character, and her romance is so. I haven't even seen all of it, and I've seen some of it, and I loved hearing it. It just looked really good. Emmerich. Yeah, my issues were just personal quests, the Johanna stuff. I really love the sentiment of this character being afraid of death and, you know, being a necromancer. I just love it. I love Emmerich's relationship with Tosh. Like, their banter is great to me. This is an A minus character, just brilliantly voice acted, brings a warmth and a maturity and a depth. Yeah, love Emmerich. I think Emmerich is probably one of the best companions in this game. I would argue that I think Nev is on this they're on the same level. Yeah. Nev and Emmerich are the same level. And then, yeah, let's go into Lucanus. So my Rook romance Lucanus, I really, really like Lucanus. I think Lucanus would be an A+ character, would be literally would be higher than Emmerich or Nev, or at least just on the same level. I don't think they would be higher, but on the same level as them. The character design for Spite is so terrible to me. It's bad. Like, I know that people were making fun of the way that the Darkspawn look, and like, it looks bad. Like, it does definitely look bad. It's bad. It's not good. I don't like looking at it. I think it's corny, and they should have done so much better with that, because I think it would have been so much more intriguing if I didn't have to see this goofy looking thing. I didn't like it. I also was really disappointed in the romance. It was a slow burn that was not even really a slow burn, because there was no payoff. That's not what slow burns are. Slow burns have to have a payoff. Like, there has to be, and they also have to be consistent. And I feel like we got 2 scenes, and I think the second scene I got, where like Lucanus like kisses you and then like pulls back and is like, I can't do this or whatever, I actually genuinely got mad. Like, I think I was really upset by it, because not because it was like, oh, he needs to kiss or like keep going or whatever. No, I was mad because I was like, this feels like the first time besides the cafe date where like there's an acknowledgement that there's a romance, and even that was immediately pulled back. I have no problem with a slower or more like emotional based romance. It doesn't need to be physical, but it has to be consistent. Like, that's just good writing. So I did have an issue with that. But otherwise I liked everything else. I had no problem with Lucanus besides that. I understand that a lot of people in the fandom are quite weird about Lucanus. I'm not even going to talk about this right now, so yeah, whatever. Harding. So Lucanus got a B-. Harding is also going to get a B-. I don't really know what else to say besides that scene where... and you know the scene I'm talking about, where Lucanus is there and she's like, why do I always need to... I don't know why I do that. Like, I try to people please or appease. Again, armchair therapy. I just think that didn't need to happen. That scene made no sense to me, because why was Lucanus there? Like, I feel like that was a scene that I could have maybe understood if it was just Rook and Harding. I also would have been more okay with it if it was Rook and Harding and it was romance. It was just a romance-locked conversation. Because I think I could understand the validation-seeking behavior, or if it's like in a context of a romance, a little bit more. Again, I'm not saying that friends can't be like, hey, like, am I doing good? Or like, have any feedback. No, they're coworkers. That completely makes sense to me, but it does put Rook in this position of being like a parental figure that I am uncomfortable with, because that's not really what my character is or does. So yeah, I think it almost felt, now that I think about it, I think there's something to be said about that feeling a lot more Mass Effect in nature, which is probably why it doesn't work. It feels like they're trying to do the shepherd sort of thing, and the reason that the shepherd dynamic works with the crew is because it's literally like military. Like, that's how it is run. That's not how it runs with Rook and any of the Dragon Age games, really. So I have a problem with that. I don't see it. So yeah, Harding, love the voice, love her personal quests and her discovering her magic and getting in touch with her heritage and learning about what the elves, or anyway, you know what I mean, about the magic that has been sort of denied from her people, and feeling angry and upset by it. You know, I love that. I just think there could have been a little something extra there, but I think she's sweet regardless. And I also really love the relationship that she can have with Tosh. Wow, I have played too much Baldur's Gate, I fear. So, moving on to Davrin. I have really nothing to say about Davrin, except I wish that he had more, like, interests outside of the Grey Wardens and Asan. Other than that, love him. Love him down. A-. And then, moving on to Tosh. I love Tosh. I think Tosh has this energy of feeling like a frat person, just gives frat vibes. I love the relationship frat has. Wow, I said frat. I love the relationship Tosh has with Davrin. Their scenes together are so funny. My book was really close to both of them. I think it takes a lot of bravery and courage to have a character who is trans, and try to talk about and discuss and explore gender identity and just an identity in general. Like Tasha's whole story arc can be sort of surmised by just saying it is about identity and the fact that not everyone comes to the same realization at the same time. You may be 50 years old, you may be 25, you may be 40, you may be 8 years old. We all have our seasons. And the one thing I really love about Tasha's arc as well is that there's a clear sort of through line between being able to breathe fire or, have that ability that is very unique and rare. Or I guess I don't know if I necessarily can say unique or rare, but, it is different. And then having to learn something about yourself that, you are non-binary and that sets you apart, and feeling also like you don't want to, really when you think about it, like Tosh and their mom are, Tosh is an immigrant, a first gen, so that is a lot of responsibility because, your parent, sometimes your family wants you to just kind of like assimilate, go with the culture, forget about what you were doing before, but you also don't want to forget about that. And your parent oftentimes can't because that's a culture that they hold very dear, and it makes them feel closer to themselves, and it's wrapped up in their identity as well. So you want to respect the culture that you're leaving behind or that you've left behind that is a part of you, but you also want to feel close to the people that you're currently with. And I think it's just a hard balancing act, and I personally really loved it. I think there's a lot to chew on there. There's a lot to engage with. I hope people keep talking about it because it's not just like, oh, I'm non-binary, and losing their mom is such a pivotal part of them growing and maturing and learning, because they have to sort of go, wait, is the Kyun all bad? Is it okay that I loved my mom? Do I have to leave it behind? And that someone from my culture kind of essentially was my parents' downfall, my mother's downfall. And yeah, that scene where Tosh lost their mother was just so hard to watch and so sad. And yeah, I think the Dragon King stuff was corny, but I love Tosh. And I do have one thing that I do want to say that really pisses me off. That people say about Tosh. I just really dislike this. I have seen people say that they think Tosh is a hypocrite, or like, this is why I don't like them, because how can you be judgmental when you yourself are non-binary? Like, you think you would be more open-minded. Why do you think that a person who is a part of a minority group, specifically who is trans or gay or whatever it may be, is inherently going to be more open-minded and perfect, like unable to make mistakes or have preconceived notions or judgment just because they are non-binary? Because when you think about it, Tosh is new to this. Tosh didn't know this about themselves, so they're still unlearning a lot of the things that they have learned previously. Why do you think that they would automatically just be like, well, I'm open-minded about everything, whatever, la la la? That's what pisses me off about the scene with Emmerich, is people will be like, why would Tosh judge that? Tosh, you have something that is difficult for people to understand. How could you be judgy? Do you know who is judgy? Their mother. Their mom is judgy. And you don't think you learn anything from your parents? Again, society? Like, those are things that you have to spend so much time on learning. It's just not something you learn overnight. So how can you expect a non-binary person to be perfect at it? It's just something that I find very confusing and upsetting to hear, because I'm just like, these are real people. What? Okay, moving on from the characters, I gave Tasha B minus as a reminder. So my highest characters, if we're gonna rank them, are Davrin, Emmerich, and Nev. Yeah, sorry, Balara. I love you. Don't doubt it. Okay, so let's talk about some more things that I just wanted to bring up. So suddenly blood magic is bad. Why? Like, what's the anti-blood magic sentiments in this game? I watched the series, the animated series, which sucked, by the way. It was called Absolution or something like that. Hated it. Disliked it a lot. I remember watching it and I was like, is this what the game's going to be? Because if it is, I'm going to dislike it. And I realize now that there was definitely some patterns that they were trying to see. They were trying to test the waters there, I think. And I don't know who decided that they needed to get rid of like blood magic, or wouldn't let you be a blood mage, or just like wouldn't even talk about it, but to say that, ew, blood magic is bad. Ew. Like, what? We pretty much had a whole conversation with Solus in Inquisition about how blood magic is just a tool and it's not inherently good or bad. I'm not saying that you necessarily should be a blood mage in the game. Like, that would be cool, but I get it. I mean, DAI didn't let you do that. But I think trying not to talk about slavery or blood magic or the oppression that mages face in the world strips the game, or endeavors to try to strip the game of anything that made it interesting, and almost tries to like walk back any sort of political discussions, which is boring because it's political anyway. You're just making it less cohesive and it's like less interesting, because now we're just sitting here looking at each other stupid like, wait, didn't you say like just a game ago that there was a lot going on here and we should be worried about what's going on with the mages and Templars? Like, we see Teventer, but we don't talk about any of that. We're not talking about slavery. Also, to kind of go off that point, seeing Dorian, Morrigan, Isabella, it was so great to see them. I would love to see Fenris. I would really, 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 really love to see Fenris. I know what they said about it. I know that he would be dead if they had written the last book, or written that book that they wanted to write. I refuse to believe it. I want Fenris to be in a game. Bring him back. Seeing Isabella was the final nail in my coffin. Like, where's Anders? Yeah, I just feel like any, reference to blood magic, mages, and the oppression that mages face, Templars, Tranquil, Chantry, and Joste, like, it just didn't feel like a Dragon Age game in that regard. Like, that's the payoff of learning the world, is to be able to go, wait, like, I remember what they said about that. Or maybe you read the graphic novels, or you watched the animated show, or you watched the movie from way back when Cassandra had that god-awful haircut. Like, I don't know. It's just, it's sad. It's really sad, and it's like, you love the world so much, but there's nothing for it anymore. And I think that's a really shitty place to be for a franchise that has been going on for so long, that people invested so much time and energy into. And it's like, how can you expect them to get excited about anything else? I was about to say something about Mass Effect, but I will not, because we're not talking about Mass Effect, we're talking about Dragon Age. Mage oppression, it was, they kind of acted like mages were just like not that interesting. Like, it's just like, oh, I'm a mage, it's not hard being me. What is that? Also, I'm still laughing about that scene where you go and infiltrate the Venatori for Elgranon, or what? Yeah, with Elgranon or whatever. Like, you just change your outfit and you go and you hang out, and then they're talking about how hot Rook is, and then also like sitting on each other or sitting on their slaves or something like that. I was like, this is like Succession. Like, what is happening? They were like busting moves. I think that scene was so silly goofy. Still don't know what that was about. But yeah, where's the fun? Where's the ability to talk to your companions, to have conversations with them that are not just like, okay, I'm ready to talk to you and I can only talk to you about this one thing. Like, why can't I ask them questions? Like, I know that you know, people are like, oh, it's not fun. The crystal glowing is not fun. Like, I want to be able to talk to them whenever I want. I kind of lean towards that sentiment as well, but I would have no problem with this way if there was just more opportunities to talk and to just ask silly things and to ask little things and to get to know the characters and for the approval to mean something beyond just having like a close relationship, like, or not even a close relationship, beyond leveling up your friendship so they can, yeah, it's just like you're not, yeah, you get points to in battle. Like, that's really what it is. It's like to level them up. So it's not even like closeness, really. You can romance the character and it still feels a little bit distant. It doesn't feel as intimate, and I think that's a shame. So let's talk about the ending of the game because we're already there. Yeah, the ending is great. I do feel like the ending is so long. I feel like the game ended about 15 times. I seemed like the ending was longer than the whole game itself. Like, I was like, wait, when is this game gonna end? And not even in a bad way. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I hate this. I was just like expecting the game to actually be over when it said it would, and when it wasn't, I was like, so TikTok. Yeah. It was a long ass ending, but I do think the ending was well done. It was nice to see Solus get some peace in the good ending. I got the bad ending. Or I guess I should say I got a bad ending or I got a weird ending. And I ended up tricking Solus. What's so funny is the plan to trick Solus is like the dumbest thing ever. It is so, I think I remember saying that the only reason I can believe that Solus fell for that with how stupid it was is that it's so stupid that Solus would never even think of that, because it's like what is wrong with you? Like, are you kidding me? Like, the fact that he was like, oh, I've been tricked, and was like proud, I was like, I would have been fucking pissed. I would have been so mad if I found out a dumbass did something like that and I was just like thwarted. Yeah, I think I'd have to end it all. So maybe that was fitting. But yeah, the good ending is beautiful. Finding out the twist about Varric being dead the whole time still kind of blows my mind. I think what I will say and what I will leave off with, there's a lot, like, I know people have already said this, so I'm not saying anything new. There's a lot to say about grief and, you know, wanting to hold on to someone's memory and not wanting to really accept the reality that they are gone. And Solus has to live with that forever. I mean, he hurt someone who, you know, again, they were coworkers, but they were also friends. They can try to pretend they were companions, you know, they were acquaintances. Like, I spent a lot of genuine time with you. We had conversations and you still cared about me enough. And when I say you, I mean Varric. Varric still cared about Solus enough to want to talk to him and to want to try to talk him off the ledge and see eye to eye or try to understand. And for Solus to do something like that, it is incredibly hard to swallow, because I love Varric. You know, I was initially a little bit upset that he was in this game because I just feel like Varric he's been in all the games besides Origins, and it's, to me, I'm just like, okay, let him vibe, like, let him retire, you know? But this did make sense. I unfortunately think it probably did need to happen. And I think what's so special about Varric is he is the narrator, you know, he's the storyteller. So he never really gets to have his I don't want to say he never gets to have his shine, but I think that's the plight of the narrator and the storyteller, and this is something I can really relate to, is that you are so comfortable telling stories about other people that you forget about your own story, and you are so uncomfortable with this idea that you could be the main character, that you have really something special and unique and rare to give to the world, because you're like, my thing is that I tell stories and I make it fun for others, nobody makes it fun for me. Or like, it's just like, you never see yourself as the hero, you always see yourself as the sidekick. Or if you do, like if you think about that scene in Dragon Age 2, the reason that scene works in Varric's POV, when he's telling this outlandish sort of super exaggerated dramatic story to Cassandra, is that like, it literally is dramatic and it is silly and ridiculous and goofy, and it didn't happen. And Varric can tell that story with like, while trolling and laughing, because he could never tell a real story. He could never really say like, I loved Bianca and she didn't choose me, and I didn't really expect her to, and I don't really know if I know what love is, but I loved Hawke. And you know, if Hawke is dead in your world, then I like to believe that they're together. And if he is, then I have a hard time believing that Hawke could really ever be at peace without Hawke in the world. You know, I think he would always be looking around for his best friend, because they are best friends. And that was really difficult for me to sort of come to terms with, because Varric is such the quintessential like storyteller, and he was a great narrator for the game. It was beautiful. I didn't love the, you know, like every single chapter where he would just narrate and be like, this is what's gonna happen. Like, I didn't love that, but it's Varric. Like, I can't really be that mad about it, because you get to spend some more time with him. He's not there for very much, and we know why. And I think that's actually what sets up the ending of the game, or I should say the good ending of the game, where Solas decides to sort of lay down his arms and his responsibilities. And what makes it special is that he has made mistakes. It's not like he's perfect or has done nothing wrong. He has done things wrong, but ultimately you can see where he's coming from. He's had this kind of like unhealthy relationship with someone who he loved. And that's not to say that I necessarily fully blame Mythal, but you know, he has carried this weight on his shoulders for a really long time, and he's never been told, hey, you can just relax now. Like, you deserve to be at peace. I love knowing that unfortunately he lost a friend and lost someone that Rook loved and all these people loved. I know that Inquisitor is not happy about it. I know Inquisitor is like probably really like, what? Like, you, Varric, you know, probably was really a blow for them. But Solas can continue to move forward in the world and try to do better and realize that they deserve to be happy. And I think they would not have realized it without doing what they did to Varric. And that's just a shame. It's so sad that sometimes you have to like learn the hardest lessons, because I think Solas was telling himself, I'd have to do the hard things. I have to do this. I have to see these people in this world as like sheep or as not real people, because if I have to see you as people, then I have to be faced with the idea and the realization that like the reality that I am going to ruin something special. And yeah, it's a really hard reality, and I think Rook has to come to terms with it in regards to Varric, and that's not easy. And also the other characters that you can lose in this game, because you can lose your companions. So I did think that was cool. I think it upped the stakes. It was just really rough, because I was just like, my Davrin died. That was awful. So yeah, I think I'm gonna just go ahead and rate this game. I have sort of said my piece about it. I think my feelings, or you know what, not I think, I know my feelings are mixed, but ultimately I think this game was sweet. It's sweet, it's sincere, it's, like I said, well-intentioned, genuine, made with care. It's not perfect, it's messy, there is a lot of flaws, but there's a lot to love. And my rankings are, at the lowest it's ew, the second lowest is bad, sad, mad, the third is not mad about it, and the highest is kickflips and lives, which is in honor of Varric in Dragon Age Inquisition with his little kickflip move. I have to give this game the ranking of not mad at it or not mad about it. I will play this game again. I intend to romance Emmerich or Davrin. I want to try, watch and romance other characters to get to know them better. I am not in a rush to play this game again or finish it again. It is not something I'm thinking a lot about. I'm not obsessed with the game. I think the combat is great. There's some really fun aspects of it. Yeah, but I have to just say it is an average game. If you want to just have a fun experience and you have no desire to really play the other games, I think you would enjoy it. It has just like a generic fantasy world value of play. The character customization is great, but if you want something to be obsessed over, I don't know that Veilguard is going to be that thing. And I have to just be completely honest about it. Again, all respect to the people who made this. Let me know your opinions and your thoughts. And yeah, I hope to review the other games in the series and just other games in general. Please take care and have a great rest of your day.